That was beautiful.
Oh, no. It's called noodling.
That was beautiful. That was beautiful. You played extra long because I was trying to get the logo up in the background.
Oh, okay.
Which went with varying success. This is episode, I don't know, 5, 6. I don't always edit them in order, so it's 5 or 6 or something. It's in the title if you clicked on it. Guitar Friends, I'm here with my good friend, Michael Britt.
How are you?
There's applause. I put applause in post. So
okay.
It's only awkward to us.
How are you?
Dude, I'm so good, man.
Good.
I'm so good. And it's a rainy afternoon here in Nashville.
It is.
And
just finished storming.
Yeah, it did. It did just finish storming.
Because we need a little more humidity in the air.
We do. I think we're in a drought again or something.
Are we?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I don't know.
Yeah, my yard is turning a little brown, so yeah,
right.
It's very possible.
Yeah. I come from a place of real droughts.
Yeah.
Like there's no water.
Right.
For a long time.
If there was no irrigation, there would be no water anywhere in California.
Totally. Here, they're like, oh, we're in a drought. And I'm like, my grass has never been watered in 7 years, and it's alive and green.
Yeah.
I think we're going to make it through.
Yeah.
Well, that is a cool guitar you're playing.
Thanks. There's a funny story behind this guitar.
Really?
Yeah.
Is there?
Because I didn't need a Strat.
No.
And I got a Strat.
How many guitars do you own?
Around 25, I think.
Right.
I feel like a glutton, like embarrassment of riches kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So I've put a cap on my own spending. So if I want a new guitar, I have to sell or get rid of something else.
Yeah.
And now I'm getting so many things that I like, it's slowing down quite considerably.
That seems like a healthy, mature.
And yet when I look around your house, I feel like I don't have a problem at all.
You did make a comment when you came in here that I don't know, what'd you say? Oh, wow.
I said, you have a problem.
Yeah.
I thought I had a problem, but now I feel pretty good about myself, and I worry about you.
No, there's too much down here, man. I've been selling stuff. I've been trying to sell like one thing a week, and it hasn't been going that well.
Yeah.
The problem is if you sell one thing a week, that's fine. But if you buy 2 things in a week,
oh yeah,
it's it really is actually, one step forward, 2 steps back.
I think I bought 2 or 3 guitars in the last month, which is rare for me, but they were all relatively less expensive guitars.
Right. Well, do tell. It wasn't this one.
This was one of mine. Yeah, I bought this within the last month. So
this is real recent. Yeah.
Yeah, my buddy Chris, he's my best buddy. We call each other guitar enablers because anytime he wants something, he sends it to me, and I go, "Oh, that looks great."
You should start that podcast out.
Yeah,
exactly. Guitar enablers.
We joked originally when we first met, that, okay, I'll keep you from buying stuff that you don't need and you keep me from buying stuff. Now we're just enabler. We'll send each other pictures. Hey, have you seen this one? Mm-hmm. So anyway, he brings us, I think he brought some guitars
I do
over.
that with the Sues. What you're describing.
Exactly.
Sues, yeah.
So he brought a guitar over. We were supposed to swap the pickups, and we were always comparing. He'll get...
Yeah, pull that mic up a little bit.
Okay, we'll get like Les Pauls, and we'll compare pickups and Les Pauls for 2 days straight, or something silly. And we're constantly swapping pickups out and stuff. So he brings me, one of the days, he just brings over the Strat, and he's like, "Do you need a Strat?" And I said, "No, I don't need a Strat. Literally, I never use Strats. And if I do, I've got an Anderson, this beautiful Anderson.
You've got Strat-y guitars.
Yeah, and I've got an exotic that looks just like a legit real Strat, vintage Strat.
Sunburst, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great guitar.
Yeah.
It's a little modern sounding because I've changed the pickups, but so I didn't think I needed it, and I looked at it, and there was like a red stain up here on the pick guard that made it a little bit unsightly, and it was a little dirty.
Right.
Which is no big deal because I like working on guitars.
Yeah.
So anyway, I plugged it in. I was like, this actually sounds pretty good. And then the more I played it, the more I liked it. And then for $500, I was like, I guess I'm buying a Strat today.
You bought a guitar.
Right, because literally 3 hours later from, no, I don't need a Strat to here's $500.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then I take it apart and I get the red splotch out of it.
You did a blog post on this.
I did.
And this is the shameless
I don't know
plug.
anything or something like that.
Yeah, this is the shameless plug for the MBritt blog.
The MBritt blog that nobody reads.
Check it out.
I put funny things up there.
I read the article. I thought it was great, actually. It was so good.
You're the only one.
Yeah, you got to. I said, you got to come over and tell this story.
Because everything I thought I knew, I don't. So, I mean, I'm always proving myself wrong. Because anytime I feel like I have... And this has been this way my entire life. If I feel like I have a strong conviction about something, I will get more information later and realize I've been wrong this whole time. Mm-hmm. So that's why I'm wishy-washy and have no convictions anymore. Because what's the point? I'm just going to be proven wrong later. Mm-hmm. So, but things like I didn't think I needed a made in Japan Strat. I didn't think they're as good as Americans. So
this is a 95 MIJ Strat.
Yep.
These are not $500 you can get stuff like this for.
These are actually going for anywhere between 1,000 and 15 usually, but I got this one really cheap. The pickups, so normally on a Strat, you'd have magnets for the pole pieces.
Yeah.
These are not. These are just metal slugs. They put the magnet underneath, kind of like a P90's made. Mm-hmm. Ceramic magnets, not anything fancy. They sound fantastic.
Yeah. Well, now we got to hear it again because you said all that.
It sounds like a Strat.
Run through a couple pickup positions, and you're playing through. Do you want me to give you something else? You're going through an old AC10 kind of thing.
When you said it yourself, it's kind of strident. It does have this top end, but it's never ice picky. It's definitely bright.
It feels quick.
Yeah,
like
it's
a quick attack.
But if I want a Strat sound, sounds like a Strat. And it cuts through a mix perfectly. So I've been using it live on the road, and it sounds great.
Yeah.
It's weird that I didn't use Strats forever, and I get the most strident sounding Strat now. I like that better.
Look, there are some people who are finding, certain qualities in a pickup, which might not be vintage or whatever, are actually what they want. Corey Wong is, of course, playing a cheap Strat out there. Who's the guy who played with Warren Hayes? Jack Pearson.
Jack Pearson. Oh, yeah, he plays a Squire.
Come on,
I don't know what, he's changed something in it. I don't know if it's just frets or electronics or what, but honestly,
I know.
Tone's in your hands.
It's him.
There's something to be said. So everything I thought I knew, I was wrong. Mm-hmm. So these have ceramic magnets. We've learned through the wonders of the internet
ceramic
that Alnico is the only way to go. Ceramic's bad.
Yeah.
And we just thought that was how it is. Like, you always put your delay after the amp section, and you put your compressor before. There's all these things that we know to be true that not necessarily, they may not be true.
Right.
We just assume they are because the internet said they were.
Yeah.
So a lot of my favorite pickups now are not even Alnico magnets, which is crazy. And for the longest time, I thought, I like 5s better than 2s, and then I'll get a guitar with 2s in it, and I'm like, okay, now I love 2s more. I don't know.
It's a sum of all the parts, man. It's like, I know what you mean. I have, for instance, for years I didn't like Les Pauls, and in the past couple of months I bought like 1 million of them. And
literally 1 million.
I don't know what to make of that. They've been all over this podcast, and I think 2 episodes ago we did the great Les Paul shootout with no Les Pauls.
That Tokai is really nice.
That Tokai is really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Tokai is really nice. The Greco's nice.
Yeah.
Those are both winners. Man, there's a vintage sitting back there. I got that. I don't even remember where I got it. And I just went, gosh, what a great guitar for the money.
Oh yeah.
And it has great pickups in it.
Our keyboard player has one of those actually.
Yeah. And it's very solid. The G falls out of tune just like a real Gibson. It's like incredible how accurate they are,
Yeah.
But sometimes it's the quality of the stuff that's wrong that makes it. Hendrix used a 50-foot cable at a lot of shows, and apparently the rumor was he liked it because it rolled off some top end.
Same with Stevie Ray Vaughan. He used those little gray Radio Shack coily cables.
Yeah,
I used to
and
get
there's
$4.
so much more length. So you get more length than
that was his roll off. That was
top
his high-end
end
capacitance.
Because you're turning everything to 10.
Exactly.
You want all the gain, less of the thing. It's kind of like, we just did, if you're watching this, you probably already saw the video that we did on the that Michael and I did on the
Liquid Profile.
Liquid Profile. There we go. And dude, it's like, hey, I want to roll that 8K off, but I don't have it on the amp. I don't have it anywhere. I got to figure out how to do it.
Yeah.
And Jimmy wasn't probably going to pull out like a piece of outboard gear and like plug it in, right? Like, not an option.
Well, they didn't have all the outboard gear.
No,
they don't have.
Not an option yet. Now it's an option, but if you care enough to bring out an all tube head and do everything, you're probably not gonna also maybe you run it through a bunch of other stuff, but you probably are in the purist camp.
Right.
You know what I mean? You're probably.
And I have nothing against purists.
Yeah.
I mean, people like Joe Bonamassa, they do a great service to the world because they keep showing how great this old vintage gear is.
Yes.
Most people cannot play as loud as Joe Bonamassa gets to play.
Joe's got his secrets. There's a great video on what's the guy Rig Rundown channel? Premier Guitar.
Oh yeah.
There's one. The more recent Joe video is him showing the amp rig, and he turns off amps in an order he does not intend to, and all of a sudden you hear these big chorused out tweeds And then he goes, and then you see like he pauses and he goes, oh, I'm giving away some of my secrets. And then tall skinny guy was his name.
Oh, John Bollinger.
John Bollinger says, "Oh, what's that? You got chorus in there?" He goes, "Yeah, there's a bunch. There's chorus on there." And then he said he plays
one of his amps has a chorus.
Both of the twins, that are always on twins, Tweed twins, have the chorus, and then he adds in all the other amps. You'd never hear it in his full tone.
Thickens everything up.
It's I guess it gives him some of that 3D, but you'd never hear it. But they were all chorused. Like I gotta go find the clip. And I'll post it to like Tone Junkie. But I remember watching that going like, oh my gosh, that is crazy. Not traditional.
Well, did you ever see the Vertex thing about the Stevie Ray Vaughan Dimension C or Dimension chorus?
No.
So he swears that's the secret to Stevie Ray Vaughan's sound is the Roland Dimension.
The DC3, yeah. The pedal,
or
the
the rack mount.
Okay,
he showed the rack mount,
yeah.
But you can do the same thing with the pedal. Problem is there's no mix knob on the pedal. I don't know if there is in the rack. Anyway,
there's just 4 buttons, right?
But he swears up and down that that's what gives Stevie Ray's sound that kind of width, if anything else. It's not that you're hearing truly a chorus, but if you take it off, it gets boring. Put it on, it's like lively.
Right.
And Joe may be doing a very similar thing.
Yeah. A couple episodes ago, we experimented with this a little bit. Here you go. Try that. Play this. It's hard to
hear the chorus.
It's hard
to feel it.
Yeah. It's hard to tell. You play. I'm going to give you even a tiny bit more. On the Kemper, I feel like 70's the marker. Like as soon as we go over 70, I start to hear it. But 69, 68, I don't hear it.
Like if that was in the mix, you would never hear that as chorus.
There's no chorus.
No.
It's not. It's like you'd
be
like,
it's not going to translate as a chorus. It's just going to be a sweetener.
It's weird. It's like at these levels of chorus where it comes out when you play 2 notes or any 3 note cluster, any triad, or whatever. Then you hear the chorusing, but on the single note stuff.
That's why I'll always sneak in, even on the delays, the legacy delay, you can sneak in a little bit of the modulation, and it just gives that little bit of movement.
Yeah. To me, like here, 66. 63 down here.
Good.
You don't hear. You can hear it a little, but it's like
putting more chorus on my gain sounds.
Dude, it's
it's
the way, man. Even at the 50s, it's a good. Okay, next Lone Star show.
Yeah.
Just run back there, lock a chorus on at 50%.
On everything.
See if you would notice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? See if you could even hear it. The band comes in.
That's interesting.
It's like that nuance. It's like I run into this in the praise and worship world. People ask like, how do you? I put out these sounds and they'll go, it's so wet. It's so much verb, and I go, just play it in the mix. Yeah. Just play it in the mix, Or I just saw someone post on one of the like worship boards, and it was like, whenever I'm playing with the band, my delay and reverb doesn't come through.
Away.
Like, what do I do about that? Yeah, turn it up. Just turn more of it, right? Like, that's it. But it's there's even a video way back on the Tone Junkie channel called "You Can't Hear Reverb," and it's me playing sounds in isolation and then in the mix,
right.
And it's just verb, and it's just how you're like you lose all of the subtlety of the reverb. So unless it's real big, you don't really hear it as verb much. You can kind of get a feel with like some hall or some plate, and it changes like the sound a bit, but you don't get those real ambient things unless you really just go, oh, I'm all the way in. I'm a million miles away. I'm 300 miles down the road.
But that's the trade-off. You got to weigh hearing all that reverb with how far back does it push you in the mix. Because if you want to be smacking right in the front of the mix, sometimes that reverb does put your sound in the other county.
Yeah.
But certain songs, it sounds fantastic. Yeah. And I run a lot of delay and reverb in our live show that if you just heard my live presets, it would be like too much for most people.
Yeah, right.
But And especially with delay, if you lock it into the tempo of the song, you don't even hear it.
Right.
It lands on the beat when you're playing. And as long as you're playing on the beat, it kind of goes away.
Yeah. And I usually run a dark reverb, and with a darker delay, it starts to really just kind of blend together.
Yeah.
You know, and you don't quite get the attack. It really softens the attack. And then if you use
it doesn't sound splashy either, because the darker reverbs sound warmer, bigger.
If you use the what's it called parameter too, the what's the delay parameter that I'm sorry, it's on reverb. The pre-delay.
Yeah, I always run mine about 80 milliseconds.
Yeah.
If it kind of gives you half a breath before it comes in.
Yeah. And if you go 100 to 200, you can really get those verby sounds up there, but it's just it really comes in right after the guitar note, so you get that initial note.
Step on what you're playing, and then it just kind of breathes after.
Yeah.
I love that the natural delay or the natural reverb.
Oh, it's so good.
You can put the decay time like 30 seconds longer. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
How loud is it?
It's like the Sue's just walked in.
I can't play as well as him.
Unfortunately, I had all the effects locked, so now to get them back, what will I do?
Did you see John Mayer when he did the Sob Rock tour through Nashville?
I didn't go see him. Yeah, but he had a great song with Maren Morris, and he said it was one of the show he'll remember forever.
Yeah,
maybe he says that at every show, but no, he said it later, and that was great. It looked great. Anyway, that's the pro tip of the day. Put chorus on stuff that you don't really want chorus on, and just put the mix at like 50%.
Yeah,
you'll sound better. You know.
And if you don't, you can take it back off.
Yeah, you can always turn it off. That's what's great about the Kemper. So liquid profiling's out.
Yeah.
And now we can say what we really think. No, I'm kidding. No, there's so many people who I know want to get their hands on it. I hope it doesn't let people down in the sense of, I get a lot of questions of people going, how does it sound? How does it sound? And I'm sort of like, well, like the amp.
It sounds like the profiles sound.
Like kind of like how they sounded before.
It's more about how you treat the profiles after the fact, to me. Mm-hmm. And to me, it's just an added way of getting stuff out of the Kemper. Mm-hmm. I mean, we didn't lose anything.
No, we didn't. We only gained.
So, and I feel like every improvement Kemper's made, we've never lost any functionality. We have only gained it.
I could use some more choruses.
Choruses would be the next little suite to do. Yeah.
Should we both send an email?
Yeah.
All right, then it'll feel like, and then
actually they just have to watch this and go, hey, we need more choruses.
Right. Well, we're 22 minutes in. This is only the diehards are getting this. That's the truth. So, any other Japanese guitars you got? Because I'm finding that Japanese guitars are kind of I think the sweet spot in the market. I feel like a lot of these Japanese guitars the prices haven't gone up as much as a lot of other instruments. Right. And so even though I used to be able to get a Bernie, Les Paul, or SG for $500 way back in the day, and yes, they're over $1,000. They're that Tokai I did pay $2,500 for, but that is in those days the top of the line Tokai, and that's a good one. Yeah, so that's a real good one. It's a good one, and it was from a shop, so you're always gonna pay a little more, but.
I don't know of any other Japanese ones. I'm still a sucker for the Mexican road-worn tellies. There's something about those pickups they made on those guitars that are just fantastic. I just picked up another one of those. I had one, then I sold it when I had my exotic telly, and then my buddy Tim talked me out of my exotic telly, so then I just got another road-worn telly. Yeah. We're always just looking for holes to fill.
No, it's always it's a journey. You never find all of them.
Because I've got my Andersons, and they're great. They sound a little modern, so I wanted something like this Strat. Sounds like an old vintage Strat.
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't have anything else with this kind of vintage sound. Everything else is more modern, a little bit hotter. Because I need stuff to kind of stay in the same ballpark as my P90s, because you know how much I use Red.
Yeah. Red's your main guitar and has been for
20 years almost. Yeah.
And you even have a Strat that has. Does it have the same pickups as Red or
different pickups?
Different,
but I did change the magnets to try to get them closer. I just didn't want to change the pickups once I opened the back up and saw 20 pounds of stuff in a 5-pound container. So I was like,
what is it, like the silent system?
It's the silent coil system, but there's a dummy coil. I mean, the cavity's only this big, and so much stuff is crammed. I was like, if I could take all this out and put it back, I'll never get all this stuff back in there. So I'm not even going to try. Yeah. But I figured it was easy to swap magnets on the pickups, so I just did that. Yeah. So there's S90s, whatever they're called.
Yeah, S90s.
But I just put different magnets in.
I think they still call them that. Those are great pickups.
I'm assuming they're like Alnico 5s or 2s, but I put like 3s and 4s in it. Yeah. Just to soften them up a little.
Yeah, I come back to those all the time, and they really are great pickups. I never hear anyone talk about putting them in anything else. They're kind of, Lawler's kind of the king of the P90 world when you're talking about replacing pickups, but I really love those Sir S90s. And I've never really had them in anything but, I guess like a slab guitar, a one-piece guitar. I've never had it in a guitar that had a carved top or a maple cap or anything. But your Strat does, right?
That and Red both have maple cap. Well, both are mahogany with maple cap. Yeah. Red is a Anderson, and it's Gibson scale, and my Sir is the carved top Sir is
longer scale. Yeah.
So there's slight differences.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. How often are you playing like the exotic and stuff on the road? Ever?
Exotic, never. Well, every now and then I'll bring it out for just a weekend. Yeah. This one lasted a month. I'll probably bring the Anderson back out. Just
you were playing that?
Yeah. Well, it's like there's a group of like 3 songs where I can get away with.
It's less cool though.
It's a little less cool. I mean, that's the blues prettier.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the humbucker, again, a Tarback copy. Yeah. That you're not supposed to like because ceramic magnets. Right. But it's one of the best sounding pickups I have.
Because that is the color scheme of every $79 guitar.
Exactly. Exactly.
You can't play that, you know?
But there's something classic about it.
There is something classic.
Eric Clapton made a living.
Yeah.
Of course, his had a maple neck, but maple fretboard.
Yeah. No, there's something classic about it. Let's hear this Tarback. Okay. So for people that don't know, this
late 70s, early 80s. Yeah. Bill Lawrence worked for Gibson.
Mm-hmm. Bill Lawrence, and who is passed away now. They're hard to get his pickups now. Right. I've heard in very rare cases his wife will make some pickups for somebody, but she's not like offering them for sale,
I used to have
right?
a tech that used to work for him, but he's passed away in the meantime. So I don't know how hard it is. But he, Dimebag Darrell from Pantera, that was his Bill Lawrence. Nuno uses Bill Lawrence pickups. Mm-hmm. They were known for using ceramic magnets, and they also coated them and they dipped them in this epoxy. And so anyway, the ones he made for Gibson, the main model that he made was the Tarback, and it was in the L5s, and different things like that. I guess I bought an SG and it had Tarback pickups. I thought they were Shawbuckers, which my buddy Chris has some great 80s Gibsons with Shaw.
Yeah, and are a lot and have kind of gone through a resurgence of desirability.
They are, right, to me. You take the PAS from the late 50s and those Shaws, and they're really similar.
Careful, Gibson just sued us. I don't know why they would, but
no, they're just both really good sounding pickups, and those Shaws are really nice. I thought that's what was in this Les Paul or the SG until I took the pickups out. I was like, oh nope, these are Tarbacks. Mm-hmm. So I found this company to make replica of Tarbacks, or they make them. They make T-Top replicas. It's Manliest pickups in New York.
Manliest pickups.
And I've been buying. I got the vinyl set, which is the Shaw reproductions, and then I haven't gotten the T-Tops yet. So I've got a couple guitars with the vinyl set, and then got 2 sets of the Tarbacks. Yeah, and this is one of them.
It's so funny, like that T-Tops aren't haven't become until kind of recently. They're desirable in the sense that they're old, but they really always have a backseat to the PAF, and it's kind of a letdown.
Because they're really good sounding pickups.
They are really good, and Angus was playing those, and probably a bunch of other people. Jimmy. Okay, so Jimmy Page's Les Paul. It is well documented. His main Les Paul had a pickup failure. He, in Japan, brought the guitar to a shop in Japan who had a Gibson pickup and said, bring it in. We got it. They put a T-top in his burst. And so there's a date, and you can look it up. This is on a million websites.
Yeah.
And now it's not on the earliest studio album, Zatelli, right? It's Zep 1 Zatelli. Yeah. Zep 2, I don't believe has this. It's somewhere around their third, fourth album, but it definitely at live at Royal Albert Hall.
He played Les Pauls more live than he did in the studio.
Every time he's playing that guitar, if it's in the bridge pickup, he's playing a T-top in an older burst guitar. So it's probably the most famous use of that pickup, and it's like kind of always goes under the radar. But that's on a million sites. You can see that on Les Paul forum, and I feel like if you see it mentioned there a million times, it's like it's not even controversial.
I had like a 335 at one point. It looked just like Larry Carlton's, and it was in the same. It looked like his. It's very similar. So, and that had T-tops, and so it's very possible, unless he's changed them, that Larry's main guitar that you've heard on all his recordings was T-tops.
Sure. I had T-tops in I've had them in a couple of guitars that I've owned, but I had them in a 335. That's Sunny 335. I had people say, I did some videos on the channel about it. I just sold that.
They're great sounding pickups.
That's it. Yeah. I don't regret selling it. I didn't love the guitar. I loved the sound of it.
Yeah. And
so I did some demos and recorded the direct guitar sound so I can kind of have them forever and do demos with them. But I sold to some guy, they're sold through Carter's, and a guy picked it up and they called me and they said, hey, there's a dude in here. He's a player. You know, I was like, who is he? They were like, I don't know if you know him. I just got the vibe. They didn't want to tell me who it was. So I was like, oh, maybe it's going to someone big. He said, and they were like, he's going to take it. He's going to take it right to down the street. What's the guy's name?
Oh,
yeah. He said he's going to take it right down there, and they're going to he's going to refret it because it needed a refret.
Yeah.
But it sounded good. So I was sure someone would buy that who was going to do that too.
Well, my 335 that was like Larry's sounded fantastic, but it had a neck break, of course, headstock break because Gibsons are made to break. Thank you for suing me.
Yeah, play authentic.
Yeah, exactly. Play authentic. Broken headstocks. Anyway, it had lost a little mass there, so it was super skinny. Yeah. And just trying to play chords down here was really tight. I mean, I don't have fat fingers, but it just wasn't the most comfortable guitar to play, but it sounded fantastic. So I ended up getting rid of it.
Yeah.
But the T-top sounded fantastic. There's a lot of really good sounding pickups.
Yeah, there's always guitars, they're almost there.
Yeah.
You know, there's always that thing. But you told me one time, you gave me really good advice. You said, I quote you all the time on this, and I can't remember it. What did you say?
I don't know if I even said it. I think you made it.
No, you said it to me. You said it to me. I said, man, you got so many great guitars. And you said,
I keep the ones I love or something.
Keep the ones I love, sell the ones I like, you know? And I was like, man. Now, I haven't really been doing that. And I have too many. And honestly, I would say.
Well, you just have a lot of love to spread.
That's right. That's right. You know, and two, I've been buying a couple guitars that have been like there's a great Squire over there with a Floyd Rose. That thing stays in tune, man.
Really?
And those pickups are terrible, but and that's from the first batch. You know how they do a first batch and they send it, go play it the very first batch. I feel like they take a lot of care because they end up in videos, and they, especially like at Anderton's, I've heard Danish Pete talk about.
They get the good ones.
You want this first batch because if they get 12 or 15 guitars, they're all perfect because they don't know which ones they're going to play in the video, right? And so they're all perfect, done. It's in the next shipment of 48 that you don't want those, or maybe you do, but that's a great. I mean, a Floyd Rose for like $400 that stays in tune. I mean, you can do whatever you want. You could carry the guitar by the bar, you know. And now the pickup's not so great. And then there's like a Harley Benton, and they're not great, but man, for the money, they're killer.
Oh, yeah.
Now, they're not guitars I want to keep. I bought them for videos and stuff. I want to check them out, and I did some video stuff on them. But do you find it difficult to find the motivation to list a $300 guitar on Reverb?
I don't. Well, I have a hierarchy.
Yes.
Always start with either Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist, because that way you don't have to ship it.
Yes.
There's fewer things that could go wrong.
Yeah.
So I'll start trying to sell it locally, and then if I have to, I'll go up to Reverb and pay the fees. But Reverb's usually like third or fourth down the list, and their fees are getting so ridiculous.
Dude, they're
anymore.
insane. I just sold the guitar for $1,000. I think I cleared
like $400.
It was $780 at the end.
Yeah.
But I did have I don't know.
Oh, you can go down on the price selling it locally, and it's going to be the same as what you get from Reverb. So.
That's true.
And
That's
why
true.
worry about shipping and things going wrong?
That's true. All right, enough about us.
Play
this Tarback.
Tarback. So ceramic magnets, the things you're not supposed to like.
Yeah.
That's what this has. So.
All right, this is kind of a AC 10-ish thing, but I want to give you like a Marshall that'll really make this thing kind of growl. Yeah, that's cool. That's a 68 JMP PA head with a Klon on it.
Very okay.
It's got that whiny Klon.
Yeah, that mid-rangey. I just love this pickup.
Yeah. That's cool.
So, this is totally unrelated.
Yeah.
I just was playing something and it reminded me. I saw Duran Duran a couple weeks ago at Bridgestone.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Really?
The new guitar player they got filling in, or I don't know if he's filling in. His name's Dominic Brown, Dom Brown. Great player. He plays more like Andy did, and less like Warren Cucurullo in the later, but he still covers all the Warren parts. It was a great show, great sounding guitars and everything. But anyway, I was playing, I heard him, I was just fiddling around, it sounded like Rio.
It sounds like that thing.
Yeah, it's a great part.
Yeah.
And then I started thinking, it's almost the same as Save a Horse, Ride a Cowboy by Big and Rich. Just move it up a fourth.
You're right.
So it's... very similar part.
Yeah. All of rock and roll similar parts, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Remember,
but you just never would put Big and Rich and Duran Duran in the same sentence.
No, you're right. You're right. Did you keep up with any of that Ed Sheeran kind of lawsuit?
I just caught the tail end of it when it started making all the news. So.
Yeah, and he really did get up there with an acoustic guitar and just played a giant medley.
Oh, yeah.
And just kind of really convinced the jury, hey, man.
You can't copyright a chord progression.
Yeah, this is crazy, you know? And
there will be no songwriters if this goes through against him.
Yeah. It's really nuts.
Yeah.
But good for him for doing that. And maybe they should just play that every time one of these things comes up.
He educated a lot of people, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Does any footage exist of him in the courtroom doing it? No, it's just what he did it later in an interview showing, because people asked him it's just drawings of him, you know, playing this, you know, like, oh, then he did this and this happened.
Yeah.
But it's wild. Okay. Here's what everyone wants to know.
Okay.
And now we're going to get on the nitty gritty here.
Oh, no.
We've both been Kemper guys for a long time.
Yeah.
Have you tried any of the newer stuff out there? Thoughts on NAMM? Are you keeping up with NAMM?
I didn't go to this last NAMM.
No. Oh my. Here we go. Where do I begin? Neural amp modeler.
The Quad Cortex?
No. See, here we go. Here we go.
I missed it.
Here we go. The whole neural amp modeler world right now is like, he doesn't even know about it. What do we get? We got to convert him.
Yeah.
So this guy, I had him on my channel. I did an interview with him at NAMM, same place I did the interview with Christoph.
Right.
And his name's Steve Atkinson. He's a data scientist guy. I don't even know if he's a data scientist. I can't remember. He's a researcher who works with AI. He made a plugin. He made it just for himself. He did it just for himself, and then he sat on it for like a year or two because it was just a hobby. So he uses machine learning to at his work. And he also plays the guitar. And he made this plugin, and he's like, this will accurately capture guitar, I think. Well, apparently it's a whole lot more work when you make something for yourself to run it than it is to like make an actual interface that will work for other people. So he just made this little interface and put it up on the internet. Here you go. And you can download it here on my GitHub page. It's like where you go to get code and stuff.
Yeah.
And it kind of didn't do anything for a couple months. And then this group shot from like 200 people to 600 people to 1,000. It's now over 10,000. I think it's over 12,000 people on Facebook. He gave me some incredible numbers on how many times it had been downloaded, but we didn't know if that was every time it had been accessed or how many times you would re-download it or what. I don't know. So we don't really know how many users are out there, but I'm selling stuff for it now. It started out as just you capture the amp directly and then apply IRs. By the way, it's all free. It's all open source.
Okay.
And in my interview with him, he talked about, I expect people to commercialize this. Brian Wampler's in the group. A lot of people are wondering if he's going to try to do something with it. I know from people in the group, someone has confirmed to me that there are at least 2 people working on hardware that can run this thing, because it runs as a VST. But it's a simple sort of, you can train it. Now the trainer is difficult to use. It's not friendly, but to play it, anyone can just download it and start playing it. And if you do a null test,
can you share the files easily, like Kemper?
Just like anything. They're just files.
That's one of the drawbacks of the Quad Cortex.
That's a huge drawback.
You have to go through their cloud.
Yeah, I haven't told anyone this, but I'm so impatient with waiting. I am just going to release. I have been doing a bunch of Quad Cortex packs, and the problem is, how do I get them to people, right? And the only way to get them to people right now is friend me on the cloud, and I'll send you everything.
Right.
Well, I don't want to be sitting there doing these random.
Yes.
So what I've decided is, what was that?
It's not automated. You gotta physically do it every time.
So what I've decided, and I was going to let this out of the bag in a video, but if someone listens this far in, they'll get the jump on it 41 minutes in. If someone listens this far in, I'm going to release like 10 or 12 Quad Cortex packs and just bundle them together and sell them for one price. It'd be like $100. And I'm just going to commit to like, hey, I'm putting 100 on sale and you better get one of these, because I'm not committing forever to like always be pressing these buttons. But if I do it in groups, I can commit to like, okay, I can do this. And I only want to do it if it's I don't know how these people who are making them, they can't be selling a lot of them, or because it's way too time consuming to fill someone's order,
right?
In 24 hours or whatever. I see people doing in 12 hours. It's like you have to live next to the Quad Cortex.
Have they linked the captures to the presets yet?
Yes.
Okay.
So you can have a bundled thing. So basically, if you have the preset,
the captures, and
you can put all the captures. It'll go with it, which is so how
in
you
the
kind of
beginning that wasn't the
you
case.
didn't have
it. Even more.
So how you can deliver it now, and how I've made packs available for people, but I haven't sold any. I've only made them free. Is you make a performance that has just a bunch of captures in a row. I mean, it would sound terrible if you played it, or they're all defeated. They're all bypassed.
Right.
But you just got
pull them off.
12 captures lined up, and if you want to do more, you just keep going. But anyway, so I'll make that available for people, because I've been getting requests forever. I'm sure you've been getting a million requests for that.
I get emails all the time.
Yeah,
Tonex and Quad Cortex. I only have so many hours in the day.
Right.
And it's not like I've got a main job. I don't know
and
if you
you're
know
a rock
this.
star.
I play with Lone Star.
Yeah. If you haven't heard,
we've been really busy the last few years.
You have been on the road a lot, man.
God, it's been busy.
Yeah, big time.
Last year we did almost 100 shows, which is more than we've done in 15 years.
Yeah, post-COVID, you're the busiest you've ever kind of been.
This year's back down to 85-ish, but it's still feels very busy.
That's a full thing. So, Neural Amp Modeler, if you do a null test or several null tests. Now, these null tests are when you create like you might record yourself playing into this Marshall. Mm-hmm. And then we capture the same Marshall, same setup on NAMM, Neural Amp Modeler, capture the same Marshall on Quad Cortex, capture the same model on Tonex, capture it on Kemper. And then you flip the phase. So when you flip the phase, if it's a perfect recreation, you should have no sound coming through. It should be completely canceling out. But whatever sound gets through is the difference. So it's a technical way of seeing, is there more or less difference,
Yeah.
And, they all sound like almost nothing, right? Because it's close, but you do hear more of a difference with everything. But NAMM is almost no frequencies getting through. So from a technical standpoint, it could be the most accurate. Now, until recently, it didn't like when you had the cabinet with it. It wanted direct.
Okay.
Now, the creator updated it, and I haven't tried it, so I can't speak. I've heard a couple people say, I still hear a little something, but whatever. Now, I've heard a lot of people say now it does cabs too. So you can just do it with the cab in line.
Just like a studio profile. Would
Yeah,
be.
exactly. Before that, it was like if you kind of did it with that, there would be extra presence, and it was noticeable.
Yeah.
And the creator, Steve, had some reasons. He said it's not optimized for that. It can do it, but it's not optimized, and here's how we'll do it. So he made a couple tweaks that would sort of, I guess, more intensely look at this upper end thing, and so now it's supposed to be more accurate. So a lot of people say it's the most accurate. It's free. I've done some videos where I tell people, here, I just did the entire Purple Plexi. Download it and download this. Why wouldn't you? Like, if you're in front of your computer, like, try it.
Right.
Sue's tried it. It's been very interested. Now, I'll tell you, to make these things, you basically are recording a bunch of beeps and boops going through your amp. Then you take that WAV file and another WAV file, and you go to this trainer. And I train mine with Google Collab on the cloud. So they've set this thing up, and it's a whole thing. It's a whole, like,
I'm old.
I know, man. And then other people, you can do it locally
you young
on
kids can work with all this computer stuff. I'm used to old amps.
It's taken me forever to like figure it out and do it all. I'm doing it though, and it takes a while, but it does work. And I would say I am using Tonex a lot on my computer, but if you're just in a DAW and you want to record, NAM or Tonex with the Helix Native.
Oh, okay.
Those effects.
Oh, yeah.
Killer. Like, so killer.
I think the Helix Native effects would be way better than the Amplitude effects that Tonex.
I'm not loving. Nobody's really loving Amplitude, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, and that's the only way you can get effects with a Tonex.
Right.
Unless you do.
Right.
Like you said,
right.
use native.
Yeah. And I think they're going to do some stuff with that product and expand it and stuff.
I haven't even been able to get my Tonex to work because my computer's too old.
Really?
I can't upgrade it to 1015, which is what the minimum.
Right.
And I've tried to get it to work with my laptop, which is newer, but my interface it's just if I upgrade this, I have to upgrade this, and it's just like it's a circle.
There's a lot of new stuff out there. It's a good time to be a guitar player, I guess. Did you see I have that head rush over there too?
I saw that.
The head rush that clones. Yeah.
Oh, that one clones too?
Yeah, that's the cloner. It's the new head rush.
Okay.
Did you hear about this?
I've heard about it. I haven't seen it.
It clones amps and pedals and stuff. And
I do like being able to capture in the quad cortex my gain pedals.
Yes.
That's really handy.
Yes. That does it also.
Okay.
Tonex does that too. Neural Amp Modeler will do it also. See, anything you have that runs as a VST, you can't. A lot of people are asking, like, I've heard people say, why can I capture in the Tonex pedal my pedal? Just the pedal. Like, when would I use that? I can't, in my Tonex pedal itself, I can't stack ones on top of each other.
Right.
But one thing I think that people are missing about Tonex, you could buy that Tonex box. You have 3 buttons now at your feet. You could capture 3 different gain pedals and just call this a gain pedal capturer pedal. That's still very useful.
Right.
Like, that's incredibly useful. If I just put my Klon, it's one power supply. Yeah, I could do any of that. And I could cycle over and have a fuzz or something. I don't know, just whatever I want.
Yeah.
I could stack things together and do it. Like, if someone came out with a pedal that was like, this captures your favorite overdrives, and then you have them all with you, and that could be a pedal
for $500.
That is it.
Yeah.
And I think people miss that that's it. Also, in a DAW, you can have as many instances running of Tonex. So you can actually run the King of just an instance of Tonex with just the King of Tone, and then another one with an AC30, and then another one.
Just multiple plugins of the same.
Exactly.
Thing. Okay.
You can do all that. You can just stack plugins in your DAW,
Right.
So there's no reason you can't do that. And that's what I think it's really designed, that, because it was in software first. I think they always plan on doing the pedal, but it was software first.
Yeah.
So NAM, same thing. You can capture a pedal and you can do as many instances. I even see people with NAM capturing outboard gear, because it is just this very accurate thing.
Yeah.
And so my question was going to be how what do you think of these things? But you haven't tried.
I haven't tried it.
You haven't tried NAM, Neural Amp Modeler. That's an interesting one because it's very grassroots right now.
Yeah.
It's a little rough around the edges. You're not going to like it.
Anything computer-based, I tend to steer away from.
Yeah.
Because even when I'm making profiles, I don't run through my computer.
Yeah, me neither.
I have a separate mixer. I'm not going through my interface.
Mm-hmm.
It's literally just as low tech as you can get.
Yeah.
I mean, a Soundcraft mixer and that's it. Yeah, I don't even understand. Like when people say they're doing their profiles through their computer, I'm like, why would you want to run through converters? I mean, just keep it analog at all you can.
Well, a lot of times too, they want to use UA plugins.
Yeah.
They might have an EQ or a,
Yeah.
It's going through a 1073, at the low, something like that.
I don't need
Is that a thing? A 1073? That is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Right.
I believe
that's,
so.
That's what I thought. Well,
I know
sometimes the numbers,
so
is it
little.
1170? I get the number.
1176 is the
1176.
compressor.
I was thinking,
1073 is the
am I
preamp.
convincing the 10 and switching the 10 and 11?
The
That's what,
1073, the API preamp thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think so.
So yeah, I mean, I get using all those if you're in the studio recording, but I've taken my Kemper in the studio and they just run it through channelers or 1073s, whatever, and just like they're just miking the amp up. So you can still. I prefer to keep it uncolored, and then if I want it colored, I can color it. After
You don't use any pre's, do you?
No.
You just go right in.
Yep.
See, here's my mixer. I mean, I'm using this Heritage Audio thing, and these I'm popping usually in and out different ones.
Yeah.
I actually have a duplicate of this unit in a case, and I don't know where it is. It's somewhere around this room. It's here somewhere, but it's in a flight case. It's what I brought to do all the JHS stuff, and now it's also just storage because I don't have enough. You know what I mean? I have more units, but it definitely. I mean, it makes an effect. This API is way different than these 2Vs. This 2V is a relatively cheap unit. Not a lot of people know about these, but someone turned me on to it because two songwriter producers I knew were using them, and they told me that works for everything. They were like acoustic guitar, electric guitar, vocals. They were like, that's why I have one. It works for everything. It's made by some guy in Texas. Cool. And it's like a Neve clone with his modifications.
Gotcha.
But the API thing is a way different. It's like that. I like it for what I call like the hot dynamic sound.
Yeah.
And to me, that is like a John Mayer-esque. John uses on his Dumbles and on his Bandmaster, which he's using right now, and he just has used just the SM7B for a long time as the live mic. And so I started experimenting with that because I'm going kind of good enough for John Mayer, maybe good enough for Tone Junkie, maybe.
But you feel like the 7B, it's a relatively lower output too. So
yeah.
I've got a cloud lifter with mine. But
yeah, and you can, I mean, there's all the gain, you know what I mean? This API especially, I don't understand what mic would need that much gain, but they're just made that way. And there's all sorts of different APIs that have been in different boards and stuff. And so there's this, and then Cappies. Everybody has those Cappies around town, and they're clones of APIs. And so you can get all sorts of different clones of those. It is a lower, what do they call it? The rating SLP or something. And so you're not gonna have a problem with that mic, blowing that mic or something. It's just a dynamic mic, but it has a thing. This thing has a hot nature about it.
Yeah.
It sounds like just a hotter signal. Is
it crispy or is it?
It's crispier than a smooth Neve top end.
Right.
And
that's what I did some profiling years ago with an API, and it did give me that. I called it crispy top.
And there must be some like mid-range push because it's like you're looking for a red light sometimes.
Right.
Where is there a thing? But that's just the nature of it, and it just gives a different flavor, which is cool. It's like all this stuff together results in a tone.
Right.
And all the pieces by themselves, it's hard to know what's making that sound that you're getting, but it's the things together, Yeah.
Well, we judge sounds off of what we've heard on records, and we would be scared if we knew what all they did to guitar tones on records.
Yeah.
I mean, it was hardly ever just put a microphone in front of a guitar. I mean, there's room mics, there's all kinds of crazy stuff that they were doing. They would flip one out of phase or just studio engineers for years have been doing crazy stuff to guitar rigs.
We just did the Van Halen.
Oh yeah.
What's the song? Yeah. What's the song called?
Unchained?
Is it Unchained? Unchained. And we
something like that. I've never actually...
You're down one step, I think, from the recording.
Okay,
but that's it.
I didn't know if it was drop D or
no.
E.
You had it. It is drop D. You did it drop.
I did just then. Yeah.
Oh, then you're done. No, you're right. You're in the right key. That's it.
I dropped it. First time I did it in the wrong key, and then I realized it.
So, my buddy Matt and I did this Van Halen pack, and so we listened to all those things isolated.
Yeah.
And I can hear in there at least 3 different instances of that guitar being recorded, because the effects are the same, but they're changing. Like it sounds like. And I'll tell you what it is. It's the verse, it's the chorus, and then it's the turnaround and solo are a separate time, because you can hear that like the verb completely changes, and it's like a room. Like you can hear that, like, I don't know, maybe it was the next day. Maybe it was a different mic came on.
Yeah.
Maybe it was a completely different amp that
was he still slaving his Fender amp with his Marshall back then?
I have no idea what all, there's a whole...
there's so many stories I'd read, because he used to run into like a bandmaster head. And then, they have the output of the back of it. He would run that into the front of his Marshall.
Yes, I know.
And he was blowing up Fender heads left and right. So, but that was basically all of his extra gain stages. And it's noisy. Mm-hmm. And so I'd heard that the engineer, if you listen to the very first Van Halen record, the guitar's all on one side and the reverb's on the other side. He did that because it was just too noisy. Right. He had to figure out some workaround to get reverb on it without it being just a wall of noise.
That's wild.
Yeah.
But you can hear, because I tried to, we isolated the guitar tracks to try to listen to the effects.
Yeah.
And it's like, you can hear that it is completely different, like a different day, time, mic position, whatever, because the effects stay on. Like, it's not like a flanger comes on. It's not like this. It's like
just different tone.
All of a sudden I'm listening to a different amp, similar amp, similar this, but the lead parts and the solo are definitely sound like there's more room in there.
Maybe he just adjusted his graphic EQ that day.
Could have been whatever. Yeah. He might have gone to lunch and knocked something over. Or it makes me think like maybe one is maybe it's a different Marshall head, or maybe they mic'd a different, maybe they came in the next day and they mic'd a different speaker.
Well, millimeters make a difference.
Yeah. And it's pulled back more, whatever. But it made me think, okay, conceivably this is 2 different setups at 2 different times. Or whatever, or a mic got used for this and then put back, but that's Van Halen. That's the sound. So you're not going to be able to get around that if you want the sound of that, because we're trying to dial in on every part, and I'm going, man, there's a pretty appreciable difference here between the chorus and but what am I going to do? Change all the verb up? Like there's more room here. You can just hear it's different, not necessarily more gain, less gain, more verb, less verb. It's just the character of it changed.
And how important is that in the grand scheme of life?
No.
Yeah.
You can't hear it in the mix.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
Like if you're hearing it in the mix, you're not going to hear that there's 3 different tracking days, or, they recorded in 3 different days. Mm-hmm. And in the grand scheme of things, his live tone was totally different than that. I mean, as soon as he started using the PVs, there were all these extra gain stages and just the guitar tones were totally different.
No, totally.
It still sounded like him.
No, he's was when the PV, when the guitars came out, was PV the first company he designed that guitar with?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Wolfgang. Yeah.
And then Music Man, and then.
Well, actually, yeah. No, maybe Music Man was first.
Was it Music Man first?
Yeah,
I think it was.
Yeah,
maybe.
It was first.
And
Wolfgang,
then
then PV.
But all the first ads say, there's like a quote from him that's something along the lines of, "I didn't just choose this guitar, I designed it. That's why it's better." And it's like, because people, that's not the classic Van Halen guitar. Yeah. What's he doing?
Right?
Is that better than the one he had than Frankenstein? Well, but he was trying to say, like,
he admits Frankenstein's a dog.
Yeah, right. But there's a Frankenstein behind you right there somewhere. Yeah. That's a cool. I play the guitar at church. The Frankenstein.
Did you know that Tom Anderson had a hand in his Frankenstein?
No.
So I guess originally came with the 6-screw bridge. So when they put the first Floyd on it, they were just trying to keep it close to where it was, but it was off. When they put the Floyd in it, it was off. Mm-hmm. And I guess Tom Anderson was tasked with putting it in the right spot. So he had to fill the holes and move the posts and all that stuff.
Right.
And so if you'll notice, like the original where the he put that quarter in there so he could spin it and block the bridge. Well, when it got moved, the quarter wouldn't reach it.
Right, wouldn't move anymore. Yeah.
So anyway, so it's the quarter kind of became useless after that.
Yeah,
but
that has the real quarter from that year. Like someone went and found the
71,
quarter, put it on there.
it's
Yeah,
always I think it's a 71 quarter.
Yeah, I think so. Maybe 71 or 72. That has a real Floyd too that someone put on there.
Nice.
And I don't love it. It's not my thing. You know what I mean? What was I doing?
I want one for the nostalgia of it because I was a huge Eddie fan.
I might sell that one.
But I have no business playing one.
You still got my Les Paul?
I do.
I'll trade you for that.
No, thank you.
That was the best joke of the podcast, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, okay, this is. What's your take on all this? I mean, you and I have watched the world go from the Pod HD 500, which I didn't take seriously. Did you ever take that stuff seriously?
I mean, I used the original pods, and then the 500 I used on a couple solos on one of our records years and years ago.
Okay.
I mean, it wasn't that I loved the way it sounded. It was that I needed to record at home, and I didn't have any means of miking stuff up.
Right.
So I just did a solo on one record with that.
But Kemper was the first time you bought into digital.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Well, that being said, I toured. We were on the George Strait Festival in 2000, and we were opening up on the George Strait Fest, playing stadiums, and I was using 2 Line 6 Vetas. Well, it was one Veta. It was the Veta and extension cab, but I could run an amp in each, separate amp in each one. Yeah. And so,
even the Veta did dual amps.
It did. And it proved right then there's no need to do dual amps.
There's no need to do dual amps, I know.
Because you think you're changing one, and it's actually the other thing you're hearing. So it's just such a mind-blowing experience. Like, I want to add more high end. I keep adding high end. It's not changing. It's because you're hearing the other amp more than you're hearing that amp. Anyway, I've never been afraid of digital. And even when I was with Canyon years and years ago, I used to Digitech GSP 21 into a Mesa Mark III head or something.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever you can get the sound you need out of, use that. But as I got more experience and more money, once we started selling records, I could buy gear. So I became a little bit of a cork sniffer snob.
Sure.
I call them cable sniffers,
Yeah, right.
Because you just think, okay, I've learned this now, I know more and I know better. But again, I don't know anything at the end of the day.
Everything we know is wrong.
Exactly.
So
and tone is irrelevant.
It's kind of in the fingers, but like good pickups
as long as you
help.
get close.
Yeah.
If you're playing the right part with the wrong tone, that's still going to be better than playing the perfect tone and butchering the part.
That's true. That's 100% true. I think of it like this. Tone is all in the fingers, but good pickups really help. Strings make a difference. Cable length, there's something to that. Amps make a big difference. Pedals make a big difference. So it all makes a big difference.
It's all cumulative.
But it's in the finger, right? It's like the thing is like, it's like all those statements are true, right? It's like the amp it's all, but it's also in the fingers, you know? And like we were talking about before we started, like, I saw Robin Ford with a rig that didn't match Robin Ford, and he sounded like him.
Yeah.
And Jack Pearson, Strat, it's beautiful.
Blues Junior and a Squire Strat, and he sounds amazing.
Yeah. It's literally...
If you've got really good fingers, you can make anything sound good. It's like people like Pete Thorne and Sean Tubbs are doing videos. It's like, it doesn't matter. Everything, and RJ Ronquillo, I mean, everything they play sounds good.
Yeah.
So it kind of doesn't matter what they're playing through.
Right.
They're going to make whatever they play through sound like it's the best thing ever.
Well, and that's the really impressive thing about all three of those guys you just mentioned is their ability. Oh, that was I was wondering. I was like, is that an earthquake? Those three guys you just mentioned, what they're really good at is finding the musical context for all that stuff.
Yeah, they create songs to demo gear.
Yeah.
All three of those guys.
And that's like, they're so good at it. So what makes it difficult then is you're never going to hear anything on there that they don't get. If anything, if you want to really use their content and know what's good, ask yourself if what they're playing sounds like me And if the answer is yes, you'll really like that pedal.
Right.
Maybe you'll like the pedal even if it's not.
Yeah.
Or you just like the vibe of it or whatever, but you got to put it in context of like, well, if I just start playing, my 40-year-old dad blues licks, is my Interstellar driver from Death by Audio really going to sound like, an amped up version of Pearl Jam? It's like, no, it won't.
No.
It won't. It'll still just sound like whatever you're playing. But, okay. The question.
Okay.
How do you feel about all this digital stuff? Is it too much? Is it confusing? You know what I mean? Are you planning on being in the Quad Cortex market when that opens? I'm
not sure about the Quad Cortex, and I won't even know Tonex until I get a new computer, apparently.
Yeah. You're in no rush to get there, huh?
The Kemper, honestly, and I sound like a fanboy, but everything I want to do, it does. And I was talking to a friend of mine. He came over. I was going to help him get his Quad Cortex set up. It was like the second one in 2 weeks that I was just helping guys do it.
Yeah.
I know just enough about the Quad Cortex to kind of get around on it, and I still have to look up the manual every now and then.
Yeah.
But I know gear, and I've worked with enough stuff. I can usually figure it out. So anyway, we're doing all this stuff, and we're talking, and he's like, I'm wanting to use different presets for different songs because he's in like a Pink Floyd cover band, tribute band. So, and I was like, well, the problem with the QC, and I could be wrong, but in my experience with the QC, if you change presets, you're going to have an audible dropout in between presets. Kemper doesn't have that. And
every unit suffers from this except for the Kemper.
I thought I'd heard that Helix fixed that, but I don't know if it did or not.
So my understanding is, now people are going to get wrong. Tell me if I'm wrong. I think if you are switching presets in the Helix, you still get it. But with snapshots there's no... With snapshots, you don't because you're changing parameters. Yeah.
I'd heard that maybe they fixed it on the preset
maybe
side too,
they
but
did.
I haven't
maybe
tried
they
it.
Did.
Literally, mine's in the garage collecting dust. But so the Kemper does that the QC doesn't do. Another thing is QC came out with set lists.
Yeah.
I'm using air quotes because they're useless. It's just another set of presets.
Right.
It's not really a set list. If it were a set list, you could reorder them in different orders without recopying and pasting every parameter in every preset.
I see. Yes. Well, that's because we also don't have a desktop editor. Maybe we'll get. Maybe when there's a desktop editor,
you just literally arrange, move up, move down. You can rearrange your set list pretty easily, especially if all your performances are songs. So I mean, I basically sold him a Kemper, but not even trying to. But the things he was wanting to do, he couldn't do with that unit, but he could do with the other. So yeah, I sound like a Kemper fanboy, but I've been using it for 10 years on the road. Never missed one gig with it. It's never gone down. I've had tube amps, like my stage tube amps have gone down 3 or 4 times, but the Kemper never did.
Yeah. And it's easy to put a backup Kemper in the rack and just... So our lead singer is using my backup. So if mine ever goes down, literally I slide it 6 feet to the right and all my sounds are... Yeah. And then he just doesn't play the guitar.
He just plays through something else or whatever.
Yeah.
So, I mean, because it's my Kemper anyway, I can confiscate it anytime I want to.
Right.
Ain't that right, Drew?
Right.
Sorry. I like digital. I consider myself a tube amp purist. If I'm at home, I'm probably plugging into a real amp and no effects at all. So it's weird that I use a Kemper because I do feel like I'm an amp purist, but I'm also don't know anything. So, but I don't have any problem using digital as long as it can fool me into thinking I'm playing a real amp. And that was from the very beginning. The Kemper fooled my brain. Once you start playing on it for 10 seconds, you forget that it's
true.
I don't forget with any other device. I always feel like, but the Kemper, for some reason, I just forget that I'm playing a fake device.
I'll say this. I agree with everything you just said. I will play the contrarian in this way. I do think that the Quad Cortex captures are on par. They don't bother me. Nothing falls apart for me.
I have no problem with the Quad Cortex captures. I mean, honestly, it does a really good job of capturing.
It's the fences that have been built
the fences, the signal flow. Kemper has built-in dedicated monitor outputs. QC doesn't. You have to tell it, I want this to be a monitor output.
Yeah.
And then if you want it to be a separate volume, you got to add a mixer block.
Yeah.
And then you got to use up a separate line because it's going through. I mean, there's all these hurdles you have to jump to do the same thing that's just built into the Kemper.
I know. Even with it's funny because Quad Cortex had this issue up front, and then people were like, there should be some multi-output. And so they basically copied what the Helix solution was with the multi-output. The problem with the multi-output, and one of my favorite things about the Kemper is I should not have to edit my rig to get different outputs.
Right.
And you have to. And I don't want to have to do that. And I should just be able to tap any output or any out on the unit and say, send this output or this output or this output or this output. It's the thing I don't like about the Axe effects as well. Or it's not the thing I don't like. It's the drawback. The thing I've always seen is like, well, that's the drawback there. Right. The Kemper, you can just in the output section, just tap wherever you want the output.
Right.
And you can, or, just tell it, I just want these portions of my signal chain. And you can send different stuff. I mean, just for me, what I do in here, like creating content and running Tone Junkie, the Kemper makes it so easy for me to just take the raw guitar signal with no additional hardware and run it into the DAW. And a lot of people might notice that lately a lot of my videos will have clips that you might see in other past demos. And the Suze will sometimes, be like, it's so weird hearing myself play an amp that I've never played. And what he means is he recorded a clip. I recorded the direct guitar sound. I put it in the computer, and later I'm feeding it back out to something. I'm feeding it to ToneX, or I'm feeding it to Neural Amp Model, or I'm feeding it. And so you're watching the Suze play that amp, but he's never even seen it. He's never played it.
Because it's so easy just to pull the direct amp out of the Kemper.
It's so easy.
There's an output that's always getting that. Mm-hmm. You don't have to go set it up in settings. You don't have to go tell it where to go. And it's something as simple as there's a button on the Kemper that says monitor cab off.
Yeah.
Nothing else comes close.
Yeah.
Because if you pick off your sound before the cab to send it to a stage cab, you're losing everything after that in the preset in a Quad Cortex, for instance. So all the reverbs and delays, you have to duplicate those and stick them in a different spot. Mm-hmm. I mean, I feel like you're just jumping through hoops to do something that is so simple on the Kemper.
There's a funny thing. There's a lot of people who point out that monitor cab off feature proves that you are not actually turning off the cabinet.
It's an algorithm, but it works 90% of the way.
I was just thinking, couldn't you just do like the null test thing? Couldn't you just flip the phase? Basically add a second cabinet, flip the phase. You would eliminate the cabinet, and you still have everything after it. Which would be the problem with that?
But if it's just for stage sound anyway, it's not. How vitally important is that?
No, it works.
It works well enough to do exactly what you need it to do.
It is the. I gotta make this a video. This will be it. It's like what? I'm having my okay. I'm gonna do this video. It's gonna be called "Still the Best" Still the Best a decade later, which is a Kemper on the front. If I could say 3 reasons why it's the best, one is I think with the new price cut, they're extremely competitive for what you get.
Oh yeah,
and on the used market even more. 2, I'd say it's the only thing in the modeling world that now does this liquid profile thing, if that's important to you.
Yeah.
And 3, I'd say it's the only solution that actually solves all the problems, whether you are in the studio environment live, and by live I mean whether you want to run direct to the front of house or run a cabinet or both. And it's the only solution that has offered us a product we can buy, and that's the Kemper cab, that we know we have a calibrated system. Everything else I don't enjoy running an FR. Yeah. And I know you have the MBritt signature cabinet. Yeah. And I have one, not the Britt signature, but I have one of the
different speaker
other ones that I got with a different speaker. And I like your speaker a lot more. Because I remember when we were both trying this out when we first saw it. Yeah. And we both said we don't like the speaker. Right.
So it's a little bit harsh, yeah.
Yeah. Not my favorite speaker.
Well, Rick really wanted to use eminent speakers because he wanted everything to be made in the USA.
Yeah.
But I've always been a Celestion guy.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I just found he literally sent me like 12 different speakers, and I just swapped them until I found the red, white, and blues.
And your approach in the thinking was, I think Rick's idea with that speaker was wide frequency range, so we'll get closer to transparency to not mess with things. But your thing was kind of like, well, no, I just like the speaker, so that's what I'll do.
I just thought it sounded good.
Yeah. And live, that's for you, right?
Right.
You're sending direct to the house. but you're able to utilize, and that's the thing. You could go into any guitar amp. You could go in there. Now you do it, but you don't turn off the cab, right? You don't defeat the cab.
Different days, I do different things. That's another cool versatile. I mean, literally, I can go in the output settings, turn the monitor cab off or on, which sounds better in that room for that day. I can turn Kemper cone on, even though I'm not using the Kemper cabinet. I can still use all that functionality into the valve train amp.
Yeah,
and I do. I'll sometimes run speaker imprints and Kemper cone. And some days I'll run the bass boost on. Some days I'll I'll turn all that off and just run it flat.
And with your signature cab, there is a powered cabinet, or it's a
tube powered amp.
It has a tube, but nobody else has even ever released a cabinet that is there is no other unit that is powered that can run a speaker. Correct. The Quad Cortex doesn't do it. Axifex doesn't do it. No. Nobody does it, which then makes it like, how is this not the best solution if I just want to run a cabinet, like on stage, a passive cabinet? Right. Now, you could get something that's powered, an FRFR. Your signature unit will do it. You don't need to have a powered one. Yeah. But I actually wish Quad Cortex would release more hardware. Because I think they can make it a full kind of thing. Even the Line 6 guys.
The power cab.
I mean, the power cab's powered, but there's no passive cab if I want. And I guess that makes sense. The Helix is really it's really a floorboard unit. I know there's a rack version,
right?
But it's really a floorboard unit. And so maybe it doesn't make sense to have that. That's not what they've gone after. But to me, the stuff we're talking about with the output versatility, it's like that stuff, man, just, you mentioned doing, tracks on the pod.
Yeah.
In my limited experience making tracks for people, it's like, why wouldn't I just turn on my direct guitar sound so I could reamp later?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't I turn on, let me give the producer all this stuff, but with no delay and reverb, in case he wants to do something cool at a part and add his own, delay and really like get into the track.
You can record them both simultaneously too.
Exactly. It just boom, I've got it all going.
And now it's able to be an interface. I mean, they keep making it better every year. It's got a new feature.
It's nuts.
It is nuts. So yes, it is still the king after 10 years.
Well, it sounds like we're Kemper fans, huh?
We are fanboys and we're fans. But I mean, honestly, we're that way because it works.
Yeah.
If it didn't work, we wouldn't use it.
Yeah. I agree. Well, we got to call it here because we just lost one camera, so they're just looking at me at this point. That's how long we went.
That was the beep.
We lost another camera. I'll tell you what. This has been Guitar Friends. Thanks so much for listening. I'm sure I'll have Michael back in the near future.
Sorry to have wasted all your time on the treadmill.
And dude, I'll let you play us out. Cool. And I'll put a picture of you up here.